Hello there. So I just wanted to give a little bit of, let's say, a disclaimer. Um, you could probably guess from the thumbnail of this video, but does contain an amount of profanity. I tried to somewhat censor it, but I don't usually swear, so I didn't want you to be caught off guard by the amount of profanity in this particular video. So I just want to get that right off the gate that this video will contain a little bit of profanity. So enjoy. Hello there. My name's Cademan. I am the mastermind who's responsible for the animations on this YouTube channel. But also I have been making these videos that I hope will sort of just be encouraging to people who also want to, uh, get their foot into the creative door, so to speak, and start creating something. So that's my whole spiel. But part of what I want to do here is I want to sort of bring up something I heard on the podcast Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. So this is the voice of the Flash talking to the voice of Darth Maul, and they have something interesting to say. So let's get right into that.
Oh, you're going to be so important. You're so important. You're the lead of the blah, 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 whatever. And then the next week you can be nobody. I mean, maybe not the next week, but like you alternate from being someone to no one. So you eventually got to go, it doesn't fucking matter. Who cares? Who cares? Who fucking cares? I get uncomfortable when people, walk the red carpet. I don't want to do that.
You know what? That's funny you said that. I remember my manager, and I was never good at this. Go, I want you to go to the Golden Globes. You need to be seen. I go, I don't have a project there. I don't want to go somewhere where I don't belong. No, a lot of actors go. I go, I am not that guy. I went to one Golden Globes, and I just felt weird. Took my friend. I always feel like nobody knows me. Who am I? What am I doing here? I don't belong. So I never did a lot of that. And it might have hurt me. He might have been right. Well, I need to do that. But a lot of people can do that. I'm not great at it.
Here's the thing. Your manager's totally right. He's totally right. But you're the guy. Again, there was an episode of this where I was so happy you were talking about this, because you were breaking open what the reality is, your manager at that time. If he had learned that Michael Rosenbaum was going to say on a podcast, no, you're a big deal and you're the lead, and then you're done and get to the back of the line.
Yeah.
Just on the note of what they're talking about, I think it's so important to have a modesty and to be able to talk about your anxiety, because I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, that great artist wouldn't have this anxiety, so I must like have a good reason for being anxious about creating something, right? But in reality, like probably everyone is their worst critic, and everyone will try and have this anxiety. So one thing, it's important to remember that like no one really knows what they're doing, and everyone is scared of just about everything. But particularly in the creative space, because it's a harsh space to be in. But also like you owe it to the people who might be not as well established as you, to sort of be honest with them and be like, no, you're actually doing great, and I'm just as scared as you are about making my stuff.
Let me ask you this: you were born in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Were you the kind of kid that was like, were you just all over the place and like creative and just like people knew this kid's going to be an entertainer, he's going to be an actor? Is it something you wanted to do since you were a kid?
Where did you grow up?
In Indiana.
Yeah. Right. So we were probably in the same boat, I'm guessing, because no one knew what to do with me.
Oh,
Was that how you felt?
I was just annoying, and I didn't. I was just weird, and I had a lot of energy, and I had no focus, and no one was taking me under their wing and saying, it's okay. It was tough. It was very tough for me growing up. But what was it like for you? Did you have supportive parents? Were they?
They were supportive in some ways, but imprinted some old school programming that was not necessarily helpful. And I think you're going to relate to this because I'm seeing you talk about, I wasn't focused, and I was, even your body language seemed to suggest like, it's just like kind of a mess up. We swear on this show.
I
right?
didn't, yeah. I felt like I just didn't have any purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I, with the lockdown and the global pandemic, I have only now at my age reassessed whether I was the fuck up that I always believed I was. Because throughout my whole life, even up till like a couple of years ago, I'm like, I'm a fuck up. I'm an airhead. I'm fucking up, whatever.
Yeah.
And then
you are.
I'm a total fuck.
Not at all.
Total fuck. Total fuck.
Yeah.
But no, I would describe myself the same way. I'm like, my grades were terrible.
Terrible.
Couldn't focus, all that stuff.
Parents didn't like you.
Parents were very much like, they thought some of the things that I could do were cool, but I was not doing the one thing you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do grades and supposed to go to school and focus. And instead I was this long-haired, bearded kid who they...
Bearded?
So I was, I looked like a fuck up. I probably talked like, I was swearing all the time. And I was hanging out with a bunch of musician people who all had long hair. I'm in a band.
Plumber.
Love plumber. But dude, it's like no one knew what the hell to do with these kids. And they all assumed we were on drugs and stuff like that. We were weirdly enough the most like chilled out. We didn't drink. We didn't smoke. We didn't do drugs. We were just, all we wanted to do was huddle over a computer or play D&D or record music, play music out with our friends and stuff like that. And people all, there were a lot of people that assumed that we were bad news. Now, funny enough, my high school, many of the teachers saw through it. They're like, no, these are great kids. And they treated us like that.
That's unbelievable.
Just fucking
what
great.
A rarity.
Yeah. So the parents had me tested for drugs all the time, right?
Wow.
But the people at school were like, they would say shit to me like, you're going to be fine. I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to be fine? I'm like flunking out of this class. I'm getting a D. They're like, that's not what you're for. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Not what you're here for.
So if you and I were born in Los Angeles, it would have taken people all of 5 seconds at an early age to know what we were supposed to be doing. And they would have sent us in that direction.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about what you were just...
I was doing impressions. I was making people laugh. I was just all over the place. You're right. You're right about that. I feel like, if we were born out here, that all that energy and the channels, this kid's an entertainer. He's an actor.
That's what he's supposed to do. And they would have been very clear on that. But put us in Indiana and Illinois, even in the suburb of Chicago where I was at, where John Hughes is from, I still didn't have a sense for it. Now, thank God my high school had an incredible arts program and all kinds of activities. So I was applied hardcore to that stuff.
So you did a lot of theater in high school?
Yeah.
But starting when?
Starting as soon as I got there, freshman year. I was totally...
And you had no acting experience, really?
No, and I didn't take it seriously, but it was fun. And I was told, the traditional wisdom is, well, that's all fun and games, but eventually you have to get a real job, doctor, lawyer, or whatever. You have to...
Not going to happen.
Never. Not with my grades. No way.
No.
So, so my whole life I've had this sort of subconscious belief that, I never updated the file of, oh, you're a fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And over the lockdown, I was like, well, wait, let's break it down. Played D&D with my friends all the time. Was huddled over a computer doing weird technical experiments because, the Amiga 500 could do some incredible things.
Sounds like weird science.
Yeah, exactly. But, was recording music and playing with my band, was acting and also was playing a lot of video games. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. He's a fuck up. Be like, wait a second, playing video games. Well, I make video games now. D&D. Well, I make D&D books and stuff like that. The acting thing. Oh yeah, I'm an actor. What about the weird technical computer stuff? Yeah, I do that now too, although I'm under NDA, so I can't say what I do, but I do weird, bizarre stuff.
Wow.
That's kind of cutting edge stuff. And the music thing. Oh yeah, I draw a paycheck from that as well. So it's like,
Wow, look at
wait a
that.
second. And I started during the lockdown. I'm like, maybe I was never a fuck up. Maybe it was like, oh, but why weren't your grades good? Be like, because try concentrating in class when you discovered at 11 and 12 years old what you're supposed to be doing for the rest of your life. All I could think about was getting home and recording that song or mussing around with the computer.
So right there, just because you're having you don't have the best grades in school doesn't mean you don't have something you can give to the world. And I think that's very, very important to remember. Like, I have a learning disorder, right? So I always struggled with school, always struggled so hard with school, but I was also always very creative. And like he said, I was constantly thinking about the next story, the next, all these things that that uh, end up actually working into where my life is. So if you're someone who's in school, you feel like you're sort of just scooting your way through, what are the things you love? And commit yourself to that, because through committing yourself to the things you really love, you're actually going to be bringing something special. You aren't going to be bringing something special by just letting the public school system force you into their box, which is all about, math and, like sort of more academic stuff, let's say. Right? Maybe you're wired to be more creative, and I think there's a reason for that. I think it's because the world needs those people. The world needs other people too, but if you're a creative person, right? If you're a funny person, if there's something you love, if you love making people laugh, you love acting, you love telling stories, commit yourself to that. And it will be hard at first, but if that's if you don't find yourself drawn to the things that you're supposed to be good at, like good grades, right? Um, you know, uh, it's don't worry about that. You'll be okay, because there will be things that you will be good at. And I'm not saying just like, scoot your way through your life because the only thing you're passionate about is eating Cheetos. Uh, find something to be passionate about besides eating Cheetos. But, like, just trying to end this on a positive note here. Yeah, you don't have to be the guy that everyone. Uh, you don't, just because you struggle with grades doesn't mean you can't go anywhere in life. And it especially doesn't mean that you aren't gonna influence the world and the people around you for the better. So, if this sounds like you, if you're someone who's struggling with grades, you're struggling to do anything because you're constantly in your head, in your imagination, thinking about the next story to tell, write that story. If it's not good enough, cool, write it again. If it's still not good enough, cool, go for draft number 3. And if that one's not good enough, you can maybe go for draft number 4. But the but at the end of the day, I want you to know you can create something. And every day it's becoming more easy. So, let's get right on that. Let's create some things, bro.